Hey guys, this is David Gnewikow, and I've got the old spin pole in hand here. Somehow I've gotten the reputation for tossing a drop shot around Kentucky Lake. I don't know who made up that story, but anyway, that's what I hear, that's what I like to do. I really do like to do it. I've really caught some big ones, especially when those fish get hard to catch. And so a lot of people ask me, how do I rig it up? What kind of line and leader do I use? I use a main line of a braid. This is a 20-pound braid. I use an 8 or 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I use an Albright knot. And so I'm going to show you guys how to tie an Albright knot, and then I'm going to show you kind of how I rig up the drop shot for fishing out deep. So I'm going to sit so that I can kind of get everything where I need it to be here. So move this rod out of the way. What you're going to do is you're going to start with your fluorocarbon leader. And so again, this is a 10-pound leader. You can get by with that if the water's got a little color in it. If not, you're going to go to 8 or sometimes even 6. I'm going to take my fluorocarbon and I'm going to make a loop with it. Make it maybe about 6 inches of where that line is doubled, and I'm going to pinch that loop right on the end. You're going to always run your braid and wrap with your braid, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So here's the tag end of my braid, here is my loop. I'm going through that loop and I'm gonna pull my braid out, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches, so I've got something to work with. I'm gonna pinch that with my right hand and I'm gonna wrap the braid around this doubled fluorocarbon 6 times. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can do more, but I usually do 6 up, 6 back. So now I'm going to pinch the braid right where I wrapped it, and I'm going to wrap it 6 times back up the line, back to this loop that I came through to start with. So we'll do 6 times. You're kind of wrapping it back over itself. 4, lost 4 there. 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to bring my braid back through the loop in the fluorocarbon. You're going to dampen, wet your knot, and then just pull both of them kind of evenly. When you get done, this is going to be an extremely strong knot, and it should look nice and small and tight like that. I usually will put, I don't know, 12 or 14 feet of a fluorocarbon leader, to where it wraps all the way back up into the reel when I'm making a cast. That way, when you have to cut off a few times during the day, that you don't have to retie your entire leader. So we're going to clean this up just a little bit, and I'll show you how to rig up a drop shot. Okay, so we got our leader tied on, and I've got my components for my drop shot right here. I've got my little Strike King finesse worm, that's that elastic. I've got a drop shot hook, and I've got a Strike King tungsten weight. And so I'm going to go ahead and set this stuff down. We're going to start off by tying our hook on. And to tie the hook on, I'm going to give myself maybe, I don't know, 20 inches or so to work with. And I'm going to actually just tie a Palomar knot, which most everybody knows how to tie, but you're going to double your line. You're going to go through the hook eye. When you get to be over 40, that gets harder than it used to be. Okay, we had to cut for just a second because I'm old and I couldn't see to thread it. So I'm pulling this through. I'm just going to tie a Palomar knot, which most everybody knows how to tie. I've doubled my line. I'm just making an overhand knot, and I'm bringing my hook back through. Now, it is extremely important that before I cinch this down, I wet this thoroughly, because a Palomar knot can burn your line. If it does that, it'll break off right above the hook. So I'm going to get that really wet. I'm going to pull it down real slowly, make sure everything's lined up, and I'm going to cinch it down. Okay, so again, that's not a real complicated knot. But now what's key on this is I'm going to take my tag end and I'm going to come back through the top of the eye of that hook. And by doing that, that makes my hook, especially if I just kind of pop it all the way through there, that makes my hook stand up straight. And so when I put my worm on there and I jiggle that little Strike King finesse worm, it's going to stand up. Okay. I will usually use, depending on how deep I'm fishing, and I'll vary this, but maybe about a 14 to 16 inch leader. This is just a Strike King, this is actually a 1/2 ounce, 3/8 half. A lot of people think that's really heavy. I like to keep contact with the bottom and move this bait fast, and so a 1/2 or 3/8 when you're fishing 25 foot deep is actually a really good weight to use for dragging, not necessarily for dropping on fish, but for dragging around. So I am going to thread this through. I'm gonna give myself plenty of space here. because if you pop that in there, that's made to catch the line and hold it. But sometimes if you guys have ever fished with this type of weight, eventually it'll just pop loose. So I'm just tie a couple of overhand knots in it on top of it, and that just keeps it from coming loose. We'll get rid of the tag end. You're not supposed to bite your line. So I've got about a 18-inch leader. That may be a little bit long. And then the old Purple Haze Strike King Elastic Finesse Worm. I love this worm on the Tennessee River. I shouldn't be giving this away, but I think I've already given it away in some other videos. But I like to rig it Texas style. I've nose hooked it a bunch and I've caught some fish, but for some reason I seem to get a lot more bites with it rigged actually Texas style. And you, depending on what you're fishing, you can kind of do what's called Texpose that hook. But you can see when I pull that line tight how that worm just stands right up. And so again, we've got 20-pound main line. This is a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce weight, and a Strike King finesse worm. When they get finicky, they will bite this.